Welcome back to Alchemical Astrology, fellow Starwalkers. Before we dive deep into the scorpionic waters of this second eclipse series of 2022, I wanted to take a moment to explain why I refer to my celestial interpretations from an alchemical perspective, apart from the fact that I am a practicing alchemist. As words have power, it would be useful to examine the etymology of the word alchemy. The roots are Arabic in origin, alchimia, which in turn would be reflected in the Greek chemia, meaning land of the black earth, and referring to work of the Egyptians, primarily during Alexandrian times. Fast forward to the Roman Empire, and you have the Latin word alchimia, all referring to the ancient practice of transforming base metals to gold. In actual fact, this served as a metaphor for spiritual enlightenment. The same methodology outlined in ancient texts regarding transformation of lead to gold can be utilized at the etheric level, the ultimate objective being for the spirit to transcend matter. This is also pointed to in the Tarot and Kabbalah. I approached the observation of celestial dynamics as a means to an end in the same fashion. The stars are a macroscopic mirror in a fractal universe that serve as guideposts to our collective emancipation, if we know how to interpret their movements and energies. Saturn rules lead and the Sun rules gold. We move from density to light, perhaps by way of the pole star. To prove my point from a practical perspective, I am recording this at precisely the time Venus is Cazimi the Sun at 29 degrees of Libra on October 22nd, as I believe it is a critical turning point in the history of humanity. I am using the catalytic force of this star point in Venus's cycle as a launching pad to give voice to the divine feminine as she descends into the scorpionic underworld. There she will reveal and heal all the wounding we've experienced in relationships and finances that have tethered us to old ways of being which no longer serve. The last time Venus reached a pinnacle in the cardinal air sign of Libra was in 1879 when Edison patented his light bulb. We will not see another occurrence of this in our lifetimes, and in her current presentation, Venus was combust the Sun at an anaretic degree. This is a pivot from one sign of the zodiac to another, and it packs a punch. In October of 2018, she was retrograde and at an inferior conjunction. Now she is full, direct, and at a superior conjunction. She will simultaneously present a crisis and a gift with respect to partnerships and money, as we approach the end of 2022. You may be asking at this point why I'm emphasizing Venus in a lunation report. As you can see from this chart, drawn for the time of the new moon on October 25th, the cluster of planets situated in Scorpio is being led by Venus towards the karmic south node. Mercury is still in Libra at this time. How does this translate to our lives on Earth? If we are to successfully transmute and transform, then we must let our hearts lead the way, and that will involve recapitulation of moments when we have had our hearts broken. Both luminaries are present to reset the dial on these issues by way of the partial solar eclipse. The moon will literally pass in front of the sun, occluding its rays specifically from view if you are located in Europe, Northeast Africa, the Middle East, and Western Asia. On a mundane level, we are already bearing witness to this shift as the passing of the UK's Queen was announced on September 8th, ending a 70-year reign. There was a subsequent Queen's Gambit played on the political chessboard with the resignation of British Prime Minister Liz Truss after only 6 weeks in office, followed by a plummet in the value of the British pound sterling. Here it is for all the world to see, and Venus in Scorpio is just getting started. Expect more of the same on a much broader scale. Venus is in Mars's domain in Decan 1 of Scorpio with a Kali moon in her wake. The Dark Mother is driving the bus in no uncertain terms, and she is rewriting how we exchange goods and services on a global scale. Another example equally as potent will be made manifest in Iran as the eclipse falls on its nadir, the lowest point in the celestial sphere, with a transiting Mars squaring the nation's natal Mars and the second malefic, Saturn, going direct right on the ascendant. A crash and burn in their currency system is highly probable. Things are also likely to be volatile for Switzerland, Italy, France, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany, which may become even more evident with the total lunar eclipse on November 8th in Taurus, the sign of resources. This date also happens to be significant for the US as it is precisely when midterms are scheduled. That's right, elections are happening on a total lunar eclipse. So, disruptions are imminent. You can expect fireworks throughout the 2-week period as a retrograde transiting Mars is squaring America's natal Neptune. So scandal, confidential information leaks, and mudslinging will run rampant. On October 28th, the Moon will eclipse Mercury with both malefics stationing direct. So stock exchange headlines may make the news if there isn't a disruption to the internet beforehand. The next day, the Moon will reach perigee, that is to say, the closest point to Earth in its orbit, and thus bringing emotions to an equal pitch of intensity. As always, I'll have a separate in-depth report on this lunation in the days to come. It is also useful to know, if we look back in history, to see similar transit patterns. We find a coup occurring in Ukraine in 2014 with the elected president being replaced by the present leadership. As I pointed out earlier, Crimea is directly under the eclipse's path, and it comes as no surprise that this region of the world may encounter power shifts over the next 6 months as the Moon goes from new to full in the sign of Scorpio. Consider also that the South Node is moving towards the 2nd degree of Scorpio and will land there in June of 2023. So these karmic energies will be with us well into the next year, and the unraveling will be a process we must be prepared to navigate. Remember, there are short cycles and long cycles to take into account, with all planetary orbits and transits. The shortest cycle here is from the new moon in Scorpio to the full moon in Taurus, both in proximity to the nodal axes, hence the designation of eclipse season. I outlined the effect of the solar eclipse for each of the rising signs in my October report, and will do likewise for the lunar eclipse in my November report. With respect to the aspects present on the date of the new moon, we need to be aware that Mercury, the Sun, Moon, and Venus are all squaring Pluto, the modern ruler of Scorpio. This is as far from business as usual as you can possibly steer. A tug of war on all fronts characterizes this configuration, and it includes ghosts from the past. At the same time, Mars, the traditional ruler of Scorpio, is quincunx, or in conjunct Uranus, at